Good morning. I'm Tracy Light, Customer Engagement Manager at SmartDesk, and today I'm talking to James, one of the SmartDesk team, about some of the work we are doing with the charity Orbis UK. James, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do at SmartDesk?
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. James Field. I'm a Customer Strategy Director at SmartDesk. So I work with our charity customers on helping them articulate IT strategies and put that into technology roadmaps so that we're actually moving their IT forward as technology changes rather than letting it go stagnant. In this particular case, we're going to be talking a little bit about Orbis, who are a charity that recently joined us. They're an organisation that work as part of Orbis International, which is a huge international charity that really focuses on tackling blindness on a global scale. They do delivery all over the world. Their mission is to ensure that everyone has access to quality eye care no matter where they live. And that actual on-the-ground treatments and a lot of training and knowledge and awareness raising about avoidable or treatable blindness, basically. One of their amazing little delivery modes is a jumbo jet that flies around the world. They call it the Orbis Flying Eye Hospital. And it flies around developing countries actually delivering eye treatments to patients on the ground. So
that sounds amazing. Yeah, fantastic. So how did they actually come to SmartDesk in the first place? How did Orbis find SmartDesk?
They found us through our partnership with the NCVO. The NCVO are a huge presence in the third sector, and SmartDesk are one of only, I think, 2 or 3 maximum IT service providers that have been awarded their trusted supplier status. So that means that we're NCVO approved and trusted to actually deliver services to the charity sector.
Brilliant. And when you were talking to Orbis UK, how did you first sort of uncover all the issues that they were actually facing?
Yeah, so they came to us with a raft of challenges. They needed someone or a company to pick up the IT support, and that's a really important part of any organisation, is having a help desk that staff can call on. But they also wanted us to help them look much more strategically about how they use technology now and how they could maybe better use that in the future to help staff work more efficiently.
Fantastic. And what process did you follow to actually get the feedback from everyone involved to really understand what was going on within the organisation?
We have a team of what we call virtual IT directors. And that team really is there to act as our customer's head of IT or IT director and ask those kinds of questions to the business that type of leadership role might do if it were in-house. So we started really by doing the most important thing, which is listening to staff and actually listening to what their challenges were, what their aspirations were. We held a series of really open forums where we structured it, but we just led with leading questions, open questions. We made it clear that there was nothing off limits. There was nothing too big or too small to talk about. It might just be something tiny, like a problem with my computer, or it might be something really strategic about a new project that they want to take on. But we held those forums and just listened and consumed all of their feedback.
That's so valuable, isn't it, to have that feedback from everybody within the organisation to really uncover what's going on. And what were the main things that actually came out of all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was really important on reflection to make sure that we're listening to everyone as well. So that wasn't just the leadership team or the chief exec, it was everyone throughout the whole organisation from top to bottom. And the themes that came out, there were, unsurprisingly perhaps, there were minor issues that were real quick wins. And that was things like inconsistent software on computers, inconsistent Windows and Office, and staff not knowing what's the right tool to use for the right function. So very common types of themes that emerged. I think probably one of the biggest ones was IT skills. And it's something that we see across all of our customers, really, that there's a real mixture of IT capability amongst the staff base. And there are some who are fantastic at what they do and others who would be the first to say they're not really computer literate, and that was a real challenge for Orbis, because they do ultimately need staff to have at least a baseline set of IT skills.
Absolutely. So there were some really quick wins then in terms of uncovering the training needs. How did you actually structure the skills program?
We worked with the business support team at Orbis, and we kind of settled on a model that was split into 2 halves. There was what we called the core IT skills, and that's the real basics like Microsoft Office, using Microsoft Windows, Outlook, Excel, the tools that we use every day. And we wanted to establish that baseline, as I say, of skills around core IT, which would apply to everyone. And then there are really role-specific IT skills. So applications that they use, like Razor's Edge for their fundraising. The finance application, Sage, was a role-specific one. So we split it into two, and we had a training program that would apply to everyone, and then an additional training program for those that use those specific line of business applications.
So for new starters, for instance, that must have been great to bring in a structured training program as well, to have that in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have a good IT induction process already at Orbis, better than I've seen elsewhere. But actually, this was maybe broadening that to include a whole range of IT skills that would form your foundation. And that's almost like your passport to say, I'm now trained in the most commonly used IT systems that I need to use to be able to do my job effectively.
And how have you compiled all of that training material now? How's that all been brought together?
With training content, there's so much amazing content out there, and there's so much rubbish and a lot in between. And I think you can almost feel like it's death by a million YouTube videos. So we really cherry picked the best of the bunches really, and pulled that together into actually quite a simple SharePoint document library. And they were, just broken down by the type of application or the type of content. Is it a video? Is it a podcast? Is it something interactive? And then the application or area that it's about, and then who's it suitable for. So again, it's that core IT skills, it's for everyone, or if it's role specific, it would only be suitable for these teams within the charity.
So that sounds like really easy to use. How do you plan to roll out the training to everybody to make sure that they've all got the training that they need?
Orbis, they've invested in training and learning and development quite heavily. So they have a learning and development manager in-house who will be able to take this library, the skills library forward. They also have a process where every staff member has what they call mandatory learning time. So that's actual protected ring-fenced time. I think it's an hour or two per month that all staff are obliged to do, and the learning and development manager works with the business to fill those slots throughout the year. So we've been able to get in the content that we've curated and put into our library into those sessions, as well as making it available to all staff to consume on demand. There's some really, really good content out there, and I would encourage anyone listening to look at some of the Microsoft courses in particular. They've invested so heavily in that, and they even do completely free instructor-led training. So you can actually book onto sessions with Microsoft Direct and go through interactive learning courses on topics like Microsoft Teams, very topical at the moment, Office for professionals, Office tips, hacks they sometimes call it, Windows 10, just little tips and tricks that even if you think you're very confident in using a particular application like Excel, there'll be things in there that you think, I didn't quite know that, and it will just save you a few minutes every time you do that task in the future. So really valuable content. It was just, I think the challenge was condensing all of that down into something that's achievable for someone looking at a short list rather than just a million different options online.
Absolutely. So it's easy to find. So the particular training that they need, you can find it easily. And how's it been received overall now?
Yeah, so we've started with a pilot group. We wanted to test that the content and training materials that we're putting to them is relevant. We think it's good, and certainly the business development team think it's good content, but actually we need to pilot it with real staff on the ground and actually letting them go through it. Check the length's okay. We kind of try to keep each video to only 5 or 10 minutes maximum. So the pilot group are going through that process now. Once that's happy, there'll probably be a few tweaks. We might want to change or swap out some of the training material, maybe customize it a bit. So we've done some training course content that is specific to Orbis, for example, their intranet, their global intranet, and how to use that.
What are the next steps?
So I think the next steps are we're currently piloting it with a group of staff. We wanted to actually get feedback from the ground on what the learning material is like. We've all viewed it and we've all been through the course with a small group of 4 of us, but we want to actually gain real feedback from a subset of staff. Assuming that's okay, and I'm sure there'll be some enhancements or tweaks, we then want to get that content out into the mandatory learning slots that staff already have in their diary every month as part of their learning and development plan. That can then be tracked through the HR records, and then we can then see which staff have done the training that is deemed mandatory because it's core across all the roles, and then we can then report on that on a quarterly basis to see how it's going, and then seek feedback at the end of each training session.
brilliant. That sounds like a really valuable project. And how do you think this could be of use to other charities?
I think it's something that we see a lot of. Digital skills is still the biggest barrier for most organisations. Orbis have invested a lot in their learning and development program and have a learning and development manager. Not all charities would have that. And what we've put together is really a repeatable framework of resources that cover at least the core skills, which everyone uses. Everyone uses Windows pretty much. A few Mac users out there, everyone uses Office. So those core training materials, we can absolutely repeat that same model for other charities, and I'm sure it would be very valuable for others as it was to Orbis.
Fantastic. That's been excellent finding out all about the Orbis UK project. Thank you.
Thanks very much.